let's talk about one of the toughest, most stressful moments for any caregiver: bathing. It's supposed to be this simple daily routine, but for so many, it turns into a total battlefield. We're going to get into why that happens, and more importantly, how a really compassionate, science-backed approach can turn that struggle back into a moment of care. This quote, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's from a caregiver named Rick, and his wife, Flo, is really the focus of the research we're looking at today. His words just perfectly capture that feeling of helplessness when the routine that was once so simple just falls apart. It's not about a lack of will. It's about being handed a puzzle with no solution. For Rick, every single morning was a new struggle. He absolutely dreaded trying to help Flo with her shower. Not because of her, of course, but just because the whole process was so draining. The routine would break down in a different way every single day.
I mean, one moment Flo might be holding the soap and everything seems fine.
And then the very next second, she would just freeze up, completely stuck between steps, unable to figure out what was supposed to happen next. And then on the really hard days, the sensory input in the room, all the different bottles, the towels, even the shadows, it was just too much. She'd get completely overwhelmed and just shut down. Now, for a lot of us, that looks like she's just refusing, but that's not what's happening at all. And this, right here, this is probably the single most important mindset shift we can make. That resistance, that freezing, that shutting down, it is not a choice. It's a symptom. It's the sign of a brain that is struggling to make sense of its environment. So this is how we reframe the whole problem. What we see on the surface, what it looks like, is refusal, stubbornness. But what's actually happening underneath? It's confusion. It's cognitive overload. The brain just can't filter out the noise or remember the sequence anymore. The cues we all take for granted are just gone. So, this brings us to this really cool concept from behavioral gerontology called stimulus control. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but the idea is actually beautiful and simple. Instead of trying to force a person to change for a confusing environment, we change the environment to support the person. We just make the right choice the easiest choice. So here's our new rule. This is the big takeaway. Stop pushing against the person and instead start removing the barriers in the room. The rule is simple. Don't force the task, fix the environment. This one idea is the key to everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? Well, it's not some magic bullet, but it is a straightforward 3-step method that really does combine science with a whole lot of compassion. So here's the game plan. First, we clear the path. We simplify the environment. Second, we learn how to guide with really subtle prompts instead of, nagging with instructions. And third, we reinforce every tiny little success to build up this feeling of calm and accomplishment. So Rick started by looking at his bathroom, but he tried to see it through Flo's eyes. And he had this realization. Wow, this room isn't just cluttered, it's visually loud. So he took out everything that wasn't absolutely essential for that one shower. Just one shampoo, one soap, one towel. He literally made the bathroom quiet. And the result? It was incredible. Flo stopped freezing, almost immediately. The path was clear. Next, Rick learned how to guide, not command. He used this thing called a prompting ladder. And the goal here is always to use the least intrusive prompt you can. You don't jump in with words. You might start by just standing where she needs to look. If that doesn't work, maybe a small gesture, like a point. Then a light touch. A verbal prompt is almost a last resort. It's all about preserving as much independence and dignity as possible. And finally, step 3, reinforce every single win. So when Flo did a step correctly, Rick wouldn't just rush to the next thing. He'd pause and offer simple, warm, immediate praise. Now, the brain of someone with dementia might not remember the specific words 5 minutes later, but it absolutely holds on to the emotional feeling. A pleasant tone makes the body feel calm, and a calm body is a cooperative body. So when you put these 3 steps together, you start to see how the science of behavior really just becomes an act of compassion. These aren't huge, complicated things. They're small, thoughtful changes that can lead to genuinely life-changing results. And the impact? It was profound. The research showed way less stress for Rick and much calmer mornings for both of them. And maybe most importantly, Flo was able to maintain her own hygiene skills for longer, and she did it with more dignity. These aren't small things. In the world of caregiving, this is everything. Because let's be real, this is about so much more than just being clean. Our ability to care for ourselves is tied directly to our sense of who we are. It's about identity, it's about autonomy, it's about privacy. So preserving these skills, even a little bit, helps preserve the person inside. So let's pull all this together into a really clear toolkit, a simple routine that you could try literally today. First, prep the environment. Make it visually quiet, declutter, and just have the essentials out. Second, always guide with the least intrusive prompt you can. Think gestures before words. Third, the moment they take over, you fade back. Let that independence happen. And fourth, reinforce that calm, cooperative feeling with warm, quiet, and frequent praise. That's the whole method in a nutshell. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. In caregiving, I think our instinct is always to try and make the person stronger, to help them cope. But what if that's not the goal? What if the most compassionate and the most effective thing we can do is to just make their environment a little bit softer?